I took the single camera of the iPhone 16e and put it against the best cameras on any iPhone, which are on the iPhone 16 Pro, and also for the fun of it against its predecessor, which is the iPhone SE 2022. Because why not? And the results are pretty interesting. Let me start with the bright daylight shots. The first thing that you're gonna notice that all of them are good in general. There are slight shifts in colors between the three of them, and the most noticeable of all is the focal length. The iPhone 16 Pro has the widest main camera, and I was standing in the exact same position with all three phones. The blues of the iPhone 16e reminded me a bit with the iPhone 13 Pro. They pop a little bit more, they're slightly different. The most balanced of them all, of course, it's the 16 Pro. We can also see the slight change in white balance between the three phones. We can see that difference on the snow. If we go to a wider shot, we can see also the difference in the colors, especially with the roofs of the buildings. The colors on the 16e pop a little bit more, and the SE feels a bit nostalgic with the old iPhone look. Some people like it, some people don't. It's a bit more contrasty. And if we zoom in, we can kind of see the difference in details between all phones. I also wanted to try the ×2 zoom on the 16e, of course also compare it to the zoom on the 16 Pro. Both are using digital zoom. They're cropping in from that 48 megapixel sensor. If you look at the windows in the furthest building, you can kind of see the difference between the two, but the 16e really did not disappoint. Now moving on to a different shot where we have some reds, some blues, some shadows and highlights. The difference in colors between the three phones here is really noticeable. Again, the 16e has that 13 Pro colors with very poppy red and blues. On the other hand, the 16 Pro is really balanced and it's the closest to life between all of them. And the SE, on the other hand, took a really different shade of blue over here. Also with this photo with a lot of t-shirts and different colors, we can zoom in to check out the details between all three phones. And I also noticed throughout all these photos that the 16e is brightening the shadows a little bit more than the 16 Pro. The whole photo in general is a bit brighter. Some might like that. I like a more balanced photo, and if I want to make it brighter, I can toggle that on and off. We also have this photo of this golden statue. We have a lot of details on the ground, in the buildings far away, and the most noticeable of all, which is the difference in the golden color between the three phones. I still have some extra daylight shots that I want to show you, but I want to do it a bit differently. I want to do a blind test where I don't show you which photo was taken by which phone, so you can choose the photo that you think is the best one, and then I reveal to you it was taken by which phone. Sounds good? Let's get into it. Starting off with this shot. Now, based on the data that I gave you about each phone, you can kind of see and know which photo was taken by which phone. The yellows of the curtains are a bit different between each phone. The highlights and the shadows, the red pole in the middle, the black car on the left, the focal length. If you need more time, you can go a bit back or pause the video, but if you're ready, here are the results. Moving up to this very detailed photo, we have a lot of colors. We have the mountains in the distance, the sea, the sky, the difference in the white balance as well between all three photos. You can see the difference in the blues, and if we zoom in, you can see the difference in the details, the buildings, and all the details on the ground. If you need more time, go back and watch them. But if you're ready for the results, here they are. I also took the ×2 zoom on the 16 Pro and the 16e. Based on these two photos, which photo you think was taken by which phone? Let me zoom in if you want to see more details. But if you're ready for the results, here are the results. And just for the fun of it, let's look at the ×5 zoom of the 16 Pro, which has a lot more details, of course, because of that actual telelens that it has. Now I want to show you a series of photos. Based on the data that you just got to know about each phone, you can see the difference of the white balance by looking at the snow, the difference in the blues, the greens. Some photos have more poppy colors than others, also how crisp the water is, and how detailed the waterfall is in each shot. We can zoom in on the branches to see the details in each photo, how each phone was able to manage the bright highlights of the snow and the dark shadows beside the waterfall. Also on this small bridge, how each phone was able to manage the difference in white balance between the snow in the sun and the snow in the shade. And honestly, all of them did really well. Some of you even might pick the 16e over the 16 Pro. I'm pretty sure about that. Also, we can zoom in on this photo to see the details in each shot. If you want more time to look at each photo, you can go back before I show you the results. But if you're ready, here are the results. Again, the 16e with the poppy colors, it really is kind of a 13 Pro in a new body, kind of. The photos on the 16e look a bit over sharpened compared to the natural look on the 16 Pro. In in my opinion. Apple might just cranked up the sharpness on the 16E to make it look more detailed, but it's kind of working. Yet personally, I still feel that I lean more towards the more natural look and the more balanced colors than the 16E. They're just closer to life and they capture the moment really well. Okay, now enough of the blind test. But before we move to the low light shots, I want to show you the performance of the front facing cameras of each phone. Actually, I'm really surprised of how good the SE is still holding up in 2025. It's pretty detailed. The colors are really good in all of them. Of course, the 16 Pro has the more natural look, a darker black on the jacket. Also again, really balancing the shadows and the highlights better on the 16 Pro. But that doesn't mean that the other photos are bad. The SE is really good, but it's a bit flat. My skin looks a bit washed out, trying to manage all the highlights and the shadows. But overall, for a phone that is 3 years old and was a budget phone, and you can still get the SE right now and get 2 more years of software updates. I really love that phone. And last but not least, low light shots. I started taking photos in the blue hour and it really looked in real life much dimmer than it is in the photos, by the way. I put this wall that had a lot of colors and details, and the difference between each phone is really something. We can see how each phone was able to balance the indoor lights and the lights from the signs on the right and on the left. And if we zoom in on the wall and see the details of each phone and how the colors are way more poppy on the 16E than the 16 Pro, for example. But here where the 16E kind of falls back a bit. The details start to fade just a little bit compared to the iPhone 16 Pro, where we can see the pores on the wall and the little details here and there. On the SE, it's trying its best with that very small camera, and it's a really good shot if we don't zoom in. But again, the 16E is really surprising of how good it is compared to the best cameras on the iPhone 16 Pro. Now moving on to different photos of this little market, the orange hues are much different between each phone. It's way more contrasty on the 16E than the 16 Pro. The white balance is different, the blue in the sky is different, the orange pots of these plants are different from each phone. Now, because humans in general lean towards a more contrasty photo, we're all gonna lean towards the 16E more. And to be honest, the 16E here looks pretty good, especially with this shot and the difference in the oranges and the white balance. But if we zoom in really closely, the 16 Pro is ever so slightly sharper than the others. You can see that in the furthest building in the middle, how you can see more details of the bricks than the other phones, but still really surprised of how good the SE is. I mean, that's not a bad photo and it's pretty detailed. And if you don't zoom in that much, you're not gonna even know the difference between all these 3 phones. Also, again, with this photo, we can see the difference in the oranges, even the reds in the flag itself, the blues. By the time I was taking this photo, it was getting a bit darker. It's then when you can see the benefits of the bigger sensor on the 16 Pro compared to the smaller sensor on the 16E. Almost all phones are really detailed, but the 16 Pro has less noise, a bit more details. But overall, I'm really surprised with the capabilities of the 16E, from camera to battery to performance to screen. And I know that some of you would say that there are a lot of other Android phones that could do way more than the 16E for a cheaper price, but what they can do is the longevity of the phone itself, the software updates that could last for 5 years, if not more, from Apple. And that's what makes it special. That's what makes it unique. If you got something out of the video, give it a sub. Thank you for watching. See you.